All right, we are live.
We are live. Oh my goodness, live in the middle of the hot summer.
I know,
Woo.
cooling off here in Kentucky. I don't know if the rest of
Actually,
it.
it cooled down. The big thunderstorms, it's cooled down a bit in the Northeast. So,
Oh, that's right. Did you swim to work this morning? Or swim?
well, actually, we swam last night from New York City to Western Massachusetts, where we have a small place. And yeah, definitely there was backstrokes and breaststrokes
Okay.
involved.
I always wanted, remember back in the 60s when there were like cars that were also boats and they never caught on. But I've always thought, yeah, I want a multi-purpose vehicle, that just flying car that also could go into the
Our,
water. Yeah,
our
just for
daughter
kids.
our daughter went to college in Boston, and they had the duck boats, which,
Yes, yes.
yeah. Anyway, but I keep saying Lenny. Do people even know who I am? I'm not Karen, clearly.
I think everybody knows who you are, Susan. But for those who
Oh,
do not, because you are one of the most prominent, influential people in my world. But Susan, go ahead.
well, I'm Susan Griffin. Been around this world for a long time, and I've got a marketing consultancy called Griffin and Skeggs Collaborative. But I've had a bunch of past lives in market research, and Lenny, every once in a while, brings me on the exchange, particularly when Karen has the week off. Karen's on a well-deserved vacation, and so I'm the mere mortal who's come along for the ride today.
Oh, well, I don't know about all that because you are vital to what we're gonna do.
Well,
So,
thank
guys,
you.
little different approach today. Where we're gonna pop through a couple news things, but then there's a whole bunch of links that Carly is going to share that are indicative of a story of a shift. And Susan, as we had discussed, what I really want is to get your perspective as someone who has led and built sales and marketing organizations in this space of the impact of these changes. This picture, this connect the dots is going to be pretty damn clear as we go through this and get there. So guys, that's why Susan is here. She's being far too humble. She is the keeper of the wisdom on today's topic. So
Well, thank you. But we got lots to go through.
we
Who
do.
knew there was so much?
There was a lot that
So
popped in. Go ahead.
yeah. Well, Lenny, one of the things you sort of brought to my attention, I knew it was happening, but the NIQ IPO,
Mhm.
10, no, what was it?
Uh,
1.05 billion.
yep. Yep.
That was a big thing. And then you also brought to my attention NIT and their raise
Mhm.
of 16 million.
Their latest race.
Their
So
latest raise, right?
yep.
And what's interesting about that one is they are leaning into the need for the integration of the human and the AI,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is a slightly different positioning. But then I don't really know Polymarket that much, but talk about that one, that uh,
Well, it's
story.
I want to make one point before I get there. What is interesting about in Nielsen? So Nielsen and some other announced this week about the launch of effectively their marketplace. Um,
Right,
and
right.
so they are going for the platform play as a data platform that
Mm-hmm.
enables and connects lots of other research. We'll circle back around to that theme in a minute.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
NIT's, I think, positioning fundamentally is kind of an operating system for research as well. So it's leveraging data and technology to enable more efficient processes. So we'll again a trend there. Polymark, I think, is just something to pay attention to, primarily because so prediction markets, right? And they make
Mhm.
their money as a betting market, but they are prediction markets, wisdom of the crowd, right?
Right.
And arguably, like in the last election cycle, not just here in the U.S. but elsewhere, they're highly accurate, right? Their outcomes were highly accurate. So, point is that idea of a very large, very scalable prediction market platform that does lots of things, whether you're betting on a game or an election or the success of an ad or a business, it's like everything is on the table. And that model, as it continues to gain credibility, which has been around forever. I mean, you were a brain juicer, right? I mean, prediction
Yep.
markets, wisdom of the crowd
Yep.
has been something, forever. They're scaling that. They're not the only one. And now they're buying. They bought QXC with crypto prediction trading. So they're building financial systems based on the wisdom of the crowd across multiple categories. They integrated with X, leveraging their data. So as we think about another approach in research that doesn't have anything to do with the traditional model of asking questions, but rather harnessing uh, individual capabilities, just pay attention to this, because
Yeah.
there's been other plays. They seem to be the biggest. I mean, they're getting
But
there's real money
getting
there.
it back to more sort of like short in visibility into the market research industry. Talk to us a little bit about the Insights Association's State of U.S. Insights and Analytics report.
Yeah, so we talked about a little bit last week. The Insight Association, along with SMR and Michigan State, and oh gosh, I forget the one of the data companies. Anyway, released our annual report based on 2024 data. I think what is really interesting is, well, there's lots of interesting things. They did a great job, and there's more perspective than just data. So definitely encourage you to download it. It's worth the money. The some of the trends they were detecting were from 2024. Let's see how that carries into 2025.
Right.
The trajectory is good growth. The U.S. Industry grew by 7.6% to 82.9 billion. But the driver of the growth, no surprise, technology, data analytics, right? It's the data side of stuff. And that was last year before we hit this tipping point that I think that we have hit, kind of the AI revolution.
Right. Well, but what's interesting to me is that in this moment of, uncertainty, where brands that sell to consumers are kind of in a state of paralysis around what's going to be the impact of tariffs, and what's going to be the impact of inflation, and what's going to be the impact of employment, or what. In this uncertainty, we're still seeing all of these investments. So
Because
there is money, and there are people with a long-term perspective about a future that's worth investing in. So that I find fascinating.
uncertainty is great for research, right? I mean, it drives the demand for insights, to get to certainty. So what's changed is the form and factor of how we get to that information fundamentally. But
Yeah.
I was on a call earlier this morning with the companies, like, and they've said what I've been saying. Insights, the demand for insights is only going to increase because the uncertainty is only increasing, or maybe a better way to say it, the rate of change. Right? We can't just assume anything anymore about how things were. So that's great. How do we fine tune our business models as an organization that provides certainty through information? That's the wild ride we're on.
Well, now that's an interesting segue into something that we were talking about in preparation for today, and that is, big tech and the big consulting firms, because they are succeeding with all the tools that they use in their big engagements. They are succeeding in galvanizing the interest and the sense of urgency in the C-suite. But I keep thinking about, the rate of change and how it impacts operationalizing these concepts.
Absolutely.
I remember mobile's going to change everything, but how? And how did I apply that as a brand back when that was the big
Right.
disruption? But now with AI, and arguably AI is changing things faster than we could have even imagined. And the C-suite says yes, because McKinsey told us it's going to change everything. How does that cascade down in a way that the organization can actually operationalize it and utilize it to make that organizational change that's going to drive growth?
So that is, yeah. Let's go there now. So Carly, if you want to take all of those links on from the big story from the Run a Show, and just go ahead and pop them in, because these are just data points. So guys, you're going to get a whole bunch of links. I think the research industry developed as a way to collect information, right? And think about and everything fundamentally that's happened for the last 80 years has been just changes in how we collect information.
Mhm.
So from mail to telephone to online to mobile, even social media, and there were some levels of disruption and kind of democratization. But fundamentally, it was a manufacturing process, right? We built, we stepped into a niche to fill that gap of getting information and then delivering it in a way that folks can make decisions on. I think that the fundamental difference that we have now is twofold. To your question, we see all the big tech companies coming in, or I'm sorry, all the big consulting companies, and you're going all those links that we just had here. It's all going to change because they are experiencing that, because fundamentally they're in the same business. They're slightly different. They're in the business of saying, oh, here's what the information means to you. But underneath that certainly is the data collection component. And they're in the same world now that we all are. That is, we've got the data feeds. Those have been established for a long time. What we didn't have was a way to synthesize all of that effectively to drive unlocking new value in that data. That's what AI does, right? AI is it is an unlock from a productivity perspective that creates more value from information, while at the same time making the entire process incredibly efficient, which is disruptive to business processes underneath.
Particularly when those business processes, despite all of our intentions to change this, have been so siloed. Correct. So the ability to unlock, to leverage AI to unlock all of the insights that can drive growth still face the fact that devil's in the details.
Yep.
Data is sitting in separate places, and there isn't a magic bullet that's going to necessarily allow the power of AI to get to all of those siloed sets of insights.
Well, I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, I think the AI is the magic bullet. I think you still got to put it in the gun and aim it, right? I mean, so, and I think that's what we're seeing in these numbers. So in these links,
maybe you've got to put it in the syringe and get it in the vein.
Right. I mean, the medicine's there, right? Whatever. But and that's significant. That is what we call pace of change. That's adoption.
Right.
But if you look at the numbers came out this week on and all those links that we came out on the Microsoft beat expectations, and it was Azure revenue, their operating system platform, $75 billion a year. The Gen AI apps doubled their revenue, grew to 1.7 billion for the first half. OpenAI hits 12 billion in analyzed revenue. That's double what it was a year ago. Those numbers aren't driven by individuals. Those are enterprise sales. Those are enterprise integrations. So if we use that as a proxy, and I think that a huge piece of that is for that, where we're on the adoption curve to bring down those silos, that's what's happening there. Obviously, it costs a lot of money. So the big brands are doing that first because they have the money to spend, and they have a greater imperative to unlock it. But it's becoming more widely distributed, cheaper. The barriers to entry for smaller businesses and even for individuals are decreasing.
Mhm.
So we are well on that way, that path, well on that path, and it ain't stopping. And now we're starting to get the implications of what does that mean, not just for the if we go back to our industry, where do we fit in now an ecosystem
Mhm.
that is no longer driven by our own silos that we create, our own defensive moats. We have this data, right? Or we have this particular expertise, or we have this specific technology. Those are
Particularly if it's niche, right? I
right.
mean, you could have, I see a lot of companies who have a tool or a methodology, and it might be integrating AI. Most of the time, it is in some way, shape, or form. But if it's standalone and it's not going to plug into those ecosystems of discovery on the part of the buyers,
I don't think it
you're going to be
lasts.
hard pressed to actually, and we kind of will get to this later, I think, but um, differentiating your story, particularly if you're a niche player, becomes mission critical, because all of the platitudes, better, cheaper, faster. Did I say better, chapper, feaster? I don't know.
Easy for you to say.
I mean, there are a lot of companies who are emerging that have that semi-niche characteristic, who don't know how to differentiate themselves. And if they're not plugging seamlessly into a bigger ecosystem, their
Yeah.
path to growth is even more fraught.
Right. So if we look at the one thing that jumped out for me is looking at there were a few other articles here that we posted on the consulting companies. McKinsey sees an AI surge boosting consulting. 40% of their 2024 business from AI projects. BCG, 20% of 2024 revenues, doubling to 40% by 2026. Accenture, 4.2 billion in generative AI sales. Now, here's the thing: they're not creating AI, right? And my dog says hello. Sorry about that.
In violent agreement,
Yes,
I take it.
yes,
Yeah, right.
yes. They're
I,
blocked out of the office and they're not happy about it. But so they're all what they are selling is consulting. They say here's all these tools and here's how you unlock those silos and create value for that. So
but there is skepticism out there that the
sure,
big firms are actually the ones who are helping get from concept to reality.
right. I personally I mean, I've had McKinsey and Deloitte as clients. They're incredibly smart people. I'm not going to take anything away from them doing that. But as a consultant, I know the joy of consulting is all I have to do is hand you the directions and then I leave. Right. So it's not, I don't necessarily have to get into the implementations. Here's what to do. Bye. Thank you. Thank you for my check.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah. Well,
kind of the way that it works. So,
anyway, they're
yeah,
making money
they're,
off
they're,
of the concept of AI, but it is firms like you basically drew the line for me. It's firms like Knit, much further down in the visibility arena, perhaps, but who are actually delivering tools that they can help companies implement, that are helping them realize real value,
yes.
and their profit, and they are profitable as a result.
Because they're part of the connective tissue, right? It's like a valve on a pipeline. If you make good valves, you're going to make a lot of money because valves are important, right? To help control the flow. So the so and I don't mean that Knit. If you're listening, I'm not saying that you're just a valve, but I'm saying these operational components that create efficiencies that help
Right.
streamline the processes. Absolutely are vital, especially today. And if you get in early, like they are, then you're foundational, and then you rely on as
Mhm.
long as you keep doing the right stuff, so that you're foundational to the to the system. Then you're great. You're in a great spot. But how many of those are there going to be? Right? Even look just the AI companies, right? There's effectively 4 big ones right now. Well, we'll call it 6 actually, but there's not 100. It's only 6 right now.
Right.
There's going to be consolidation of them at some point. So the
But the low barrier to entry actually is now accelerating the small niche players, because where there are maybe 6 big AI companies, think about the number of companies that we have seen being part of the IAX ecosystem in the last 2 years, the number of net new companies who are somehow leveraging. I mean, if there are only 6 big AI companies, think about how many AI enabled companies are in the online call space now, right?
And I would say I had a conversation with the CEO of one of those companies. Said we want to be a unicorn, and my response was, "You cannot be.
Exactly.
You will not be. What you can do is build a really good, nice business, right, and get over the course of the next 2 years, and then sell to be part of an ecosystem.
Right.
But you're likely, and sorry guys, please don't shoot the messenger. If you're building that type of business, I think you're probably building it to sell. That's the right thing to do, because we're not going to see. There's certainly going to be winners and losers, but the barrier to entry for your features and capabilities is incredibly low. Now,
Right.
the barrier to entry is client adoption fastest. That's your moat.
Right. Right. Which means your sales and marketing have to be absolutely bulletproof, rock solid, and have to be really intelligent in terms of how to rapidly build that adoption base.
That's right. And that's why we see. So let's go back, Carly, to the product launches for a minute.
Yeah.
Because these are companies that, so Displayer, their AI powered research agent, Vox Pop Me Signals, which is a synthetic sample type of model, Pure Profile, AI powered message testing. So these are trusted brands that already have good relationships. And they're not just doing this for me too. They're doing it because they want to build on that trust to continue, because that's their moat. Their moat is they're already engaged with these relationships and they're a trusted partner, and they're going to build capabilities to do that, so they can continue to be part of that ecosystem, not because they think no one else could do this. Every single one of these things someone else could do. I actually saw a demo last night of a few other integrations of AI with traditional data analytics platforms. That was fairly shocking on how good it is. So Displayer, you're doing a fantastic job. We love you. You're a partner of Grit. So again, not trying to denigrate the value of what everybody is building, just recognizing that the barrier to entry to build something similar by others is very low now. So
Well, and I do want to. This is an unpaid political announcement here, but Green Book has launched a series of buyer's guides that are thematic. They did 2 earlier in the year, one on user research and one on shopper insights. Green Book is about to launch 3 others on sampling solutions, online qual, and brand solutions. And then in October, there are buyer's guides that are going to focus on social media insights, solutions, data analytics and synthesis, and non-conscious measurement. Now, why do I mention this? From a point of view of that, we'll call it musical chairs, that's going to happen with all of these emergent companies that for whom the mode is not the technology, because so many people can do it. Can that barrier to entry is not, as you say, Lenny, the features and functions. The barrier to entry, the barrier to growth is going to be adoption. You've got to be discovered. You've got to be found.
Yep.
And we've talked about it, or Lenny, you've certainly talked about it on the exchange. The large language models are going for discovery, are going to be trained on readily available, open robust data sources, and Greenbook's ongoing evolution of new tools for suppliers is transforming the Greenbook value proposition into being a recommendation engine.
Yep.
And so part of that equation for suppliers who are trying to differentiate is to make sure that everything you can say that is going to enhance your ability to be able to capture adoption faster than the competitors,
Mm-hmm.
you need that to be visible. And, what Greenbook is doing to transform itself is going to be part and parcel of how you're going to leverage that.
Yep.
Will there be winners and losers?
But it's about being integrated into the marketplace. Right. There's actually there's two posts, Carly, I see that you put up when agents attack, how AI collapses and rebuilds marketplace moats. It's a blog post, but it is incredibly insightful. Definitely check that out. That kind of speaks to your point, Susan, around where are the marketplaces for buyers to engage, whether it's a widget or strategic consulting, right? AI synthesizes, combines, and centralizes. That's what it does.
Right.
So that lends itself directly to that there's different ways around discoverability. The other one is, Carla, it's the very last one, how to get recommended by ChatGPT. That's just an interesting article from a marketing standpoint. But to your point, Susan, it also changes in that world. We're not about buying AdWords anymore, and where we can, and a small company could compete with a big company just because you throw enough money at it, or SEO optimization. It is about authority and content, et cetera, et cetera. And in that world, that is a centralization model. It's around aggregation and curation of authority content, and it just changes the game and how you market. And guys, that may sound self-serving. Look, I'll just tell you the truth. When all this started from a Greenbook standpoint, we were like, "Oh shit, what is going to happen to us?" Right? We were scared.
And then the penny dropped, and we said, "Oh, geez."
Right. Wait a minute. Actually, building a curated content, in mass. Wow, didn't know that's what we were doing, but luckily enough. And my point is, it's not. Yeah, sure. Talk to us. We'll help you whenever we can. The point is just the way that we market is changing, and the way that we engage with buyers is changing fundamentally because of technology and this transformative impact of that. I want to be conscious of time. There's a couple things that I think are worth calling out real quick that were just kind of cool. Did you see under the tech developments that Amazon investing in the Netflix of AI startup Fable? Which was it's an AI platform, and you wanted to, I really love Scooby-Doo. I want to make new Scooby-Doo cartoons, right? That I'm going to write the script for, and it's going to animate those Scooby-Doo cartoons, and it's going to share it out on a marketplace, right? Whatever the case may be. I just think that's super cool. If that grows from a creator economy standpoint with media, it's a whole new channel we have to pay attention to. What does that do to research? What does it do to advertising? This creator economy is exploding as well. So our channels are becoming more and more fragmented. What does it do to how we tell stories? What if we use that technology like to write a script for data, right? And we're delivering that as an animated show to folks. That's cool stuff, right? As scary and weird as all this is, there's other stuff like that that's really cool. There was another one, Notebook LM, video overviews for complex sources. That's a Google Play. So it's not just it can create a fake podcast, which it was. You can actually create really complex presentations off complex data sources now. What does that do to how we deliver information, right? Results, new tools.
Wow, that's really interesting from this week, was actually around language, right? And
Yeah.
you know.
The
So
Riz.
all of the text analytics, all the conversational AI tools, all the online qual tools claim that they can operate in many, many languages, 90 languages, 55 languages. But there is a language that has emerged, and it is called algo speak. And the New York Times had an article about a Harvard-trained linguist named Adam Alexic, who just wrote a book about algo. Now, what's algo speak? Well, it turns out algo speak is what Gen Z has been popularizing amongst themselves in social media that has spawned words in the lexicon like skibbity and delulu and riz. And there's actually a guide online for parents to learn the meaning of this. Now, Gen Z is a population that is notoriously hard to get to do online surveys, but they're doing stuff in social media and they're speaking that language. Now, if I'm in fraud detection and I say I can eliminate gibberish, I can look at completes that have gibberish because I have AI and it can speak all these languages and it can detect. But if they see skibbity,
right, and Riz,
yeah, and actually for our audience, Riz is what Gen Z uses as slang for charisma. So I told Lenny this morning, and he told me I couldn't say this, but I think that Lenny is the personification of charisma in the market research industry. He says no, but I think he's just being overly humble. So, man, you got Riz. You ate Riz. That's another
like
algo
Ritz.
speak.
If you say eat Ritz, like Ritz crackers, yes, I will go with that.
That's not the Gen Z. That's not. No, that's skibbity. And for those who know. But but what I find to be fascinating about this is are the large language models being trained on algo speak? And you can actually read Adam's book on that he just published on Amazon just for fun, but really not for fun, because the issue is things are very dynamic. Mm-hmm. And how consumers express themselves is dynamic. And this population that is currently very, very young is going to age very rapidly. And if and their slang that they identify, I mean, I'm still struggling with awesome. I mean,
Right. I know, dude.
Yeah. Dude.
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 We're dating ourselves.
Yeah, but I just find this stuff to have implications for AI and implications for research that we may find silly and funny, but actually it's like, oh man.
Yeah. Well, let's bring that back with so there are a couple other the race continues.
Yeah.
OpenAI is supposed to release ChatGPT 5 today, right? Or whatever they said in August. But at the same time, the most recent one, there's a great LinkedIn post that OpenAI needs to immediately recall the new agent mode, that it's not fully baked. And apparently as these things are released in the wild, it's move fast, break things, put it out there. And as early adopters tend to do, especially with technology, like, oh, well, let's put it through its paces. And they're discovering, oh, it wasn't supposed to be able to do this, but it does. And that's kind of scary. In a particular case, there's examples of the agents taking autonomous action in connected information and accounts that maybe people really didn't want it to do, right? Executing sales through a linkage to your bank account and those type of things. So we have to, it's just this weird
and
play.
McKinsey just published a very specific industry vertical specific report on how AI is going to transform finance and banking and credit.
Yes.
And yes. But the devil's in the details, and move fast and break things when it comes to my bank account.
Right.
I don't think so.
Absolutely. And let's wrap it up with that, right? Because we're certainly going a little bit over, but it's been if Karen was here, we'd have her get out her horse, right? Beat the dead horse. We are
I've got
not.
horses, Lenny.
You
I've
got
got
horses?
horses. Yeah,
Okay.
I
All
got
right.
horses.
All
Anyway,
right.
go ahead.
All
Go
right.
ahead. Go ahead.
The we are not in the traditional cycle anymore of early adoption, et cetera, et cetera. That was 2 years ago, and there is no going back to this to a previous world. It is, we must adapt to this world. The signals are incredibly clear. That's what we're trying to do, is to call out, separate the signals from the noise. And we must adapt. We should adapt it yesterday, right? If you're not on this path of adaptation, internally and strategically, from a process standpoint, from a product standpoint, from a positioning standpoint, et cetera, there's no waiting anymore, right? We are in mid transformation, and it's not. The odd part about this is that we can see the outline slightly ahead, but we don't see the outline a year from now, because the pace of change is just too fast. So all we can do is continue to adapt as we go. The next model is going to be released next week. It's going to do some things really well. It's going to do some weird shit that we're going to go, what is that? And it's scary and whatever. And they're going to fix it. And then the next model is going to come out and it's going to do the same thing. And it doesn't matter, because the adoption is still going to continue at pace. And we must adopt to the uncertainty ourselves, in order to be successful in our mission of delivering certainty to clients, because the process is no longer the business. The process is just the process.
And towards that end, there are no magic bullets relative to marketing. Your service on the basis of features and functions. I mean, we have to be very agile, and we have to figure out ways of telling a differentiated story, again, based on trust, based on a variety of things. So yeah, buckle your seat. As my favorite Betty Davis line of all times from the movie All About Eve: buckle your seatbelts, boys. It's going to be a bumpy night.
And on that note, what better way to end than on a Betty Davis
Right.
quote? So,
exactly. Yeah. Thanks for having me on, Lenny. It's always fun.
Thanks for joining, Susan. And guys, next week, Karen will be back. And
aren't you glad?
I miss her. I miss Karen's Riz, but
Karen's got Riz. Oh, how she
Riz.
defines Riz.
Yes, but I love having the opportunity to talk to you, and obviously to our listeners. One shout out, Carly. Do we have a graphic for the GRIT survey?
Oh, yeah.
Able to pull that up. If not, that's okay. The GRIT survey is live. All of the stuff we're talking about, we've retooled the survey in order to focus on this and trying to understand, provide some certainty or at least some direction with new questions, et cetera, et cetera. Look online. There's tons, or in your email inbox, there's tons of links. Please take a few minutes to participate.
And for those people who are buyers and suppliers, definitely check out the buyer's guides and keep your eyes open for the next round.
Yep, absolutely. All right. With that, we will say goodbye. Happy Friday. Everybody have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week. Bye.